Hi everyone, I'm Miko Alino from Gaia. And why do we do waste audits? Some of the questions that pop into mind is doing waste audits help us identify how much waste or um, people are generating, and maybe other waste generators like um, schools, businesses, government offices, um, and other sources of waste. Probably you're familiar with this slide. This was taken from the Break Free from Plastic brand audit toolkit, and it shows the different, or at least it try to simplify the steps needed for doing audits. And it starts off with doing cleanups, and then we from these cleanups we record the data. We try to sort the waste, record the data using data sheets provided, and compile them so that the data becomes useful for uh, the project implementers or local governments. But for today, I'll show you an example of how to do waste audits that's particular or specific for households or neighborhoods. So what's a waste audit? A waste audit is a systematic exercise to characterize or identify the types of waste or material that various sectors generate. So it could come from households or residents, it could come from schools, from offices, and others. There are a number of materials or guidelines available online. The one on your left, it's a manual produced by the Philippine government, so to guide local governments in doing their own waste audits. And the one on your right, it's produced by my organization. It includes data on brands. So for those who have done brand audits before, this exercise, of course, includes uh, aside from the types of waste or material, it includes data on brands, or to at least heighten the responsibility of manufacturers in our current waste or plastic pollution crisis. Uh, Methodologies, there are different takes on this. In Here's an example. This is from the Break Free from Plastic brand audit toolkit. You see on your left, it's a data card where you put in uh, information about the types of waste collected, so the type of product, type of material, the number of pieces, and you try to compile them using software or a mobile app. And of course, there's also guide sheets available for volunteers and or organizers. The two sheets on the right side of this slide shows the types of products that are usually found in our waste streams, and the types of material the waste are usually made. So in this case, there's a sheet here identifying the types of plastic material. um, where does the data actually come from? So, data can come from different sources. A lot of the data that, even though you don't have experience in doing waste audits, you can already look at existing data that's already available from your government, from your cities, or other organizations that have done similar exercises. This one is from the Philippines. So this is a data compiled by an organization called Mother Earth Foundation, and they collected data from 23 cities and tried to um, aggregate them, and this was what they found. Um, from this from this chart, you see more than half of the waste is compostables or organic waste. You see this picture in a lot of cities across Southeast Asia where our waste is mainly wet. So more than half of our waste is organic waste. It usually ranges from 50 to 80%. Um, Also, a significant fraction of our waste, are 15%, are recyclables. So these are the types of waste or materials that you can send to waste markets, to waste banks, to recyclers. So because they have certain value that they put into this material, and they can process it, it can be used again later on. Another significant fraction here is what we call residuals, or in other places they call it other waste. These are the types of discarded materials that have little or almost no value to the recycling sector. This is composed of plastic packaging, and material, sometimes glazed carton if there's no market available for it. So all of the waste that cannot be composted or recycled goes here. Uh, Residual waste, they often end up in landfills or incinerators, so that they are not put back um, in our production streams. Another type of residuals is the special waste or special residuals. Um, these are uh, diapers, menstrual pads, uh, hygienic waste that we use in our households. Um, uh, like the residual waste, they can't be recycled or composted. And the best we can do is to look for treatment facilities in a city or in a community that can, in a way, for example, sterilize this or at least stabilize the material before putting them in the final disposal site. Lastly, we have the hazardous waste. These are the types of discards that are, in a way, dangerous for immediate disposal. So these are batteries, discarded chemicals, aerosol cans or paint, and so on. So um, cities usually have special storage facilities for this, for property treatment. And of course, households and villages, communities are advised to coordinate with their city governments to um, at least see or explore possible options for proper treatment. And I'd like to show you some sample results from a household waste audit done in Vietnam. As you can see, this waste audit, it was done in 2019, so just last year. And I'll show you some how we were able to compile the data and make it in a way useful for the project implementers as well as the local government. So in this slide, you'll see some information about this waste audit. So it was done in a residential ward in Da Nang, Vietnam. The number of households, some of the data here, they are available with your local government or city government. So the estimate is 6,300 households. Average household size 3.4 people per household. And this is also government data. Estimated population 24,000. Sample households is 50. So as I've mentioned earlier, this is a household waste audit. and we can't really do a waste audit for 6,300. Technically, could be done, but would take a lot of time and resources. We decided to stick with a sample size of 50 households, randomly selected from the total 6,300. And the date of collection, it was waste was collected back in March 2019. It's similar to the chart that you've seen earlier. So in this neighborhood in Danang, we have organic waste at almost 89%. The recyclable waste, it's almost 7%. Other waste or residual waste, it's 3.8%. And then you also have these small fractions. I don't know if you can see there's purple and green slices here, one of which is special waste, the diapers. It's at 0.32, and then hazardous waste at 0.36. Some of the data that, in a way, we try to provide for the cities or for the local governments is to provide estimates for waste generation. So in this data set, we were able to estimate the um, daily waste generation per capita, so which is 0.46 kilos per person. And you can from that data you can also generate estimates for household, on the right side, we'll just multiply it with the average household size in this city, and below you have the estimated household waste generation, which is 558 tons per day. The data actually in Danang, according to the government, the city generates around 1,000 tons of waste per day. So maybe probably the other half is produced by other waste generators like businesses, and commercial establishments, as well as industry, as well as the industry. Another part of the waste audit is, of course, you can use the data to highlight some problematic items that maybe the government can consider regulating or banning. So in this particular waste audit, we highlighted two items. One is plastic bags. In this waste audit, we're able to count 1,617 pieces, and this translates to almost 500 plastic bags per person per year if you were to um, extrapolate the data for each resident of the city. And you also have the primary plastic packaging at around 652 pieces. Doing a waste audit. So here are some steps on how to do it. First, we start off with the preparation. Preparation means we look for or decide on what methodology we'd like to use. Um, as I've shown earlier, there are different toolkits or manuals or guides that are available online, or maybe the one that you're maybe more familiar with, the one from Break Free from Plastic. This will also help you identify what type of waste audit that you plan to do. It could be a waste audit for cleanups, a brand audit, a household waste audit, or in some cases, some government guidelines, they do their waste audits in transfer stations where you aggregate all collected waste, or in landfills. You also need to uh, determine the sample size. If you're doing household surveys, the recommended sample size is around 50 to 55 households. If your household population in a community or city runs to the thousands, so at least you'll have a decent sample size for this. for this exercise. And of course, last is the disposal plan. Um, you need to coordinate with your local government to see after doing your waste audit, then you can, of course, properly dispose or transfer the waste that you have collected for this exercise. So if there's a recycling facility that can accept some of the recyclables that you've collected, then better. But it's good that we coordinate with the city, so the waste that we have collected during the audit does not end up in another water body or river. Second step is, of course, doing an orientation, and orientation involves informing respondents. So respondents mean these are the people or households that will be part of the survey. So you need to visit them in their houses, talk to them that you will run a survey. We need your participation, and if possible, you need also to provide separate containers for these households, so it's easier for you to do the actual audits. So you can provide different containers for organic waste, for recyclables, for the other waste, and hazardous. So at least whenever you do your collection, then it's easier for you to um, at least separate the organic waste from the non-organic waste. Collection, this involves doing the rounds. So for the household waste audit, this requires 8 days of um, collecting waste from the set of 50 households. Usually on the first day, it's more of a test run for the households. So, and then what we do is we, of course, collect them, weigh them, but they are not included in the actual sorting. So, what is part of the actual sorting is just the days 2 to days 8. So, at least you'll have a sample of the week long waste generation from these households. Number four is the actual waste audit and sorting. So this would be the, I guess, very familiar for a lot of participants. Um, the actual audit, of course, involves a setup or a layout where you do your actual sorting, and you weigh the products, count the number of plastic materials, for example, and uh, do them or provide some catalog and populate them in data sheets. Lastly, you have the analysis of results. So I've shown you some examples of this in the earlier slides, showing how these results can be compiled and in a way become useful for implementers and local governments. For the household waste survey or waste audit, for this particular exercise, I know it's quite a lot. There are 34 primary categories, and there are 76 secondary categories. So, just an example, the primary category or the waste type would be recyclables, and then there's a primary category for hard slash rigid plastic, and then secondary you have PET or the type of plastic. And I'll just run you through the slides and just to show you, familiarize you with the different types of categories that are available in this particular guide. Of course, if you look at different manuals online, you'll see different setup. There's a more simplified version that has fewer categories, but you can actually customize these categories depending on what's relevant to your organization or your project. So, so just doing a rundown. Some of this, I guess, very familiar for a lot, but you see a lot of them are also very problematic, like sachets or multi-layer packaging. There are also some vegetable or plastic wraps. And the idea or the objective, that's why we try to be detailed as possible, is so we can have this data. Usually waste audits are only done every 5 or every 10 years, so this is not done frequently, because it takes a lot of time and resources as well. But at least for project implementers, this serves as a good baseline data for our waste management projects. And yeah, these types of waste are tallied in this sheet. Um, I know this is quite a lot, but this is how it works. There are also um, options to do or use mobile apps for this as well. So we'll try to explore them. And so yeah, that's it. Thank you, everyone. If you need more information about the toolkit, or the one I've shown you earlier, there's a link to the guide and as well as the forms.